great to be in Rupp Arena where somebody knows how to play basketball. Lord have mercy. It is fantastic to be with y'all. I'm Jackson, and like they said, I'm from the state of Alabama. Now, there were three youngins in my house growing up. There was me, there was my older sister, Annalise. She's older than me by 4 years. And then there was a little black wiener dog named Charlotte. Now, Charlotte was Annalise's dog, and we got Charlotte about the time that I was a couple years old. So if you ever meet my mom in the Piggly Wiggly, she'll be the first to tell you that me and Charlotte were potty trained at the same time. Different methods, but same end in mind, you know what I'm saying? So me and Charlotte, were potty trained at the same time. She actually caught on quicker than I did. She's a smart dog. And we spent our life together, me and Charlotte. We were pretty tight up until about the time I got into high school and started driving. And by that time, she was 14 years old in human years, which in dog years is like really old. So me and Charlotte started to kind of fade apart, and here's why. Because when I started driving, I became the first person who would get home from school every day. My dad would get home from work after work about 5:30 or so. My mom was a high school teacher, so she'd get home about 12:30 at night or something like that, you know. And so either way, I'd be the first one to come home, so I'd have to take care of Charlotte when I got there. Annalie had moved off to college, but I had to take care of her dog. Now, at this point in Charlotte's life, she was really only a dog in the academic sense. She still kind of looked like her dog. Both of her parents were dogs, but she could no longer do dog things anymore. Like she couldn't go fetch, she wouldn't run around and chase you, she wouldn't jump up on your lap, and her eyes didn't work, her ears no longer worked. The only part of her body that still fully functioned was her digestive system, and I know that for a fact. Here's how I know it, because when I came home from school every day, it didn't matter how great of a day you had at school, if you made a good grade on your math test, which was rare for me, but it'd make my day really good. Didn't matter how great of a day you'd walk into the room where Charlotte spent her days and open it up, and there you'd see the proof that her digestive system worked perfectly. This dog, again, my sister's dog, who she had left with us when she went to college, had messed up everywhere. Like as soon as you'd open the door, she'd messed up right there. She'd messed up in the closet. She'd messed up under the washer and dryer. She'd messed up in the sink, in the cupboards, on the ceiling, everywhere. It was ridiculous. And so every day I'd come home from school, I'd be feeling all right until I saw this monstrosity. And I'd have to get down on my hands and knees and clean up after somebody else's dog, my sister's dog. And so months go by, and I have to do this almost every day. And I got to where I was just about fed up. So I did what all angry people, fed up people do. And I don't know why we do it, but we do it all the same way. To let other people know that we're upset, we don't go tap them on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, I've got something to talk about." No, that makes too much sense. Angry people, fed up people, frustrated people just cross our arms like this, tap one of our feet, and then move our head back and forth like this. And we just wait for somebody to ask, "Why are you being weird like that?" And so I was home one day after a particularly treacherous afternoon with Charlotte, and I wait for Mom to get home. She comes in the door, I'm standing there like this, and she says, "Jackson, what's wrong?" And I said, "Oh, wouldn't you like to know?" She says, "Jackson, what's wrong?" Because my mom's a caring person. And I said, every day I come home from school, and the first thing I see is how Charlotte has messed up the laundry room. And so I have to get down on my hands and knees and clean up after this dog, which isn't my dog. And unfortunately, my mom's smarter than me, because she gave me the best response you could ever get. She said, "Well, Jackson, it may not be your dog, but it is your house." And I was like, dang, she got me. It wasn't my dog, and it wasn't my mess, and it wasn't my fault that the laundry room was messed up every single day. But yet, because it was my house, because I had the opportunity to fix it, therefore it was my responsibility. Now, I'm not telling you that all of a sudden I was like, "Woo, Mom, that's great. That sounds fun. This is going to be a joy from now on." No. I still hated it just as much. But sometimes, even if it's not our dog, it is our house. Sometimes we have to do things not because they're fun or because we enjoy them or because anybody enjoys them, but simply because we just have to do it. And I can think of another time when I did something I wasn't too fired up about. It was the summer before my freshman year of high school, and there was a group of us that used to go on these high adventure trips, right? We'd go do crazy things and call them high adventure. And so one summer we're in the North Georgia mountains, and all my buddies wanted to go spelunking. Now, let me hear you if you know what spelunking is. Oh, about 11% of you. That's great. Well, so for those of you who don't know what spelunking is, I knew exactly what it was at the time and knew I didn't want to do it. Spelunking is cave diving. Cave diving, which is a sport invented by some guy a long time ago who was walking through the woods, saw a hole in the earth, and said, let's go down in there and see what happens. It's a terrible sport. But all my buddies were like, we should do this, and anybody who's in parliamentary procedure knows that majority rules, so here we go, spelunking. Now, to go spelunking properly, to go cave diving in the right way, you have to dress appropriately, which means you have to wear your old T-shirts and your old ratty blue jeans that don't fit, high waters as we call them, and you follow Alabama way down yonder on the Chattahoochee. So you have to wear all these old clothes because when you go down in that cave, you're going to get super muddy like some of y'all do in western Kentucky, I'll bet. So you have to get super muddy and you have to wear clothes that you can throw away as soon as you get out of the cave because they're going to be worthless. So here we are. We've got our old cut-off shirts on, our old raggedy jeans. We're going into the cave, and they give us these hats, you know, like the 7 dwarfs wear in Snow White, you know what I'm talking about, with the lamps on the front. So we've got these, and we're going into the cave, hi-ho, hi-ho. And we're looking pretty cool. I mean, it's like a cross between Nicolas Cage and Bob the Builder. So we're going into the cave, and I'm at the back of the line. At the front of the line is the guide that's taking us down the cave and showing us where to go and where not to go. And I'm at the back of the line thinking that if something goes wrong, it won't happen to me because I'm back here, right? So I'm like, this is a good plan. So I'm at the back of the line. We go into the cave, and I'll be honest with you, it is absolutely beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. They've got all these stalactites and stalagmites, and it opens up into this, you know, underground cathedral, which is absolutely breathtaking. And if the scenery didn't take your breath away, the claustrophobia definitely would. Because there were other parts in the cave which were totally narrow, and you had to turn your body like this and shimmy just to get from point A to point B. Or there'd be places where you had to lay on your back and tilt your head one way just so you could move forward, kind of marine twerk through the cave, you know what I'm talking about? And there were places that were just really, you know, close quarters, and so we had to get through those, make turns here and there. And we get to this one place that opens up a little bit, and the guide at the front of the line, he turns around to us, and take all of the stereotypes that you've heard about, well, people from Kentucky, but also people from South Alabama like I am. Take all those stereotypes and compile them into one human being. And that was our guide in this cave. He's kind of hunched over a little bit. He's got like muck boots on and shorts. You know what I'm talking about? And he's got an old Farmall shirt on, something. And he's got these Willie Nelson braids going on. And his face looks like a road map with all these wrinkles and stuff. And he looks up at us in a cave, by the way, and says, do you want to see the waterfall? And so I'm like, no, thank you. Can we leave, please? But everybody else is like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go see the waterfall. Waterfall in a cave. I'm thinking this guy's lying through his tooth. But again, majority rules, so here we go after the waterfall. Now, to get to the waterfall, there was a special part of the cave which is made up of one piece of earth in this direction, and then another piece of earth in this direction, and then this schism, if you will, this gap between it and this abyss under it, okay? So I feel like theoretically there had to have been a bottom to the blackness that was under us. I mean, I feel like there probably was a bottom, because otherwise you'd go straight through the earth, and I'm pretty sure that's not possible. But you couldn't see the bottom. I don't think you would have died if you would have slipped through those crevices and gone into this schism of darkness, this abyss in front of us, but you definitely would have ended up on the 6 o'clock news, because somebody's going to have to go down there and get you. So either way, the only way to move forward through this part of the cave was to put your back against one side of the wall like this, and your feet up against the other side, right? Just like this. So if you've ever seen the scene from Emperor's New Groove, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Feet up against this side, feet up against this side, back against this side, literally back against the wall, between a rock and a hard place. And then below us was this abyss. But we get to making it pretty good, and we're moving back and forth and kind of shimmying like that. I'm starting to get comfortable. I'm moving all right. But the tunnel goes back and forth like this at 90-degree angles. So every few feet you'd have to turn, which was difficult. And I'm at the end of the line, remember. So about the time we make one of those 90-degree turns, something really bad happens. Because about the time Stephen gets around that corner, he's the guy in front of me, and his headlight gets out of the way just like that. My headlight went out. That's what I thought. Ooh. Yeah, exactly. So I experienced the darkest dark you can experience in or on the earth is inside a cave. And I experienced it right then because Stephen's light was around the corner. Absolutely no light. Complete and total darkness. And in that darkness, I was confronted with the truth about my situation. It was quite a bad situation, and I became uncomfortable. I was surrounded by darkness. I didn't know up from down. I didn't know a way out, and I was paralyzed there. All of a sudden, fully aware of the truth of my situation. And if you'll allow me today, I'd like to point out some truths of the situation we find ourselves in right now in this country. Like the truth that 1 in 5 American children, now there's 2 important words in that statement, American as in right here at home, land of the free, home of the brave, breadbasket of the world, a place where we brag each day about liberty and justice for all. 1 in 5 American children, children being the second important part of that, meaning they can't help it. 1 in 5 American children struggle with food insecurity. 1 in 4 American children grow up without learning to read today in 2014. 1 in 3 American children are already at a young age diagnosed as overweight or obese. This is in the same country where 1 in 5 struggle with food insecurity. And 1 in 2, or 1/2 of American children between the ages of 1 and 20 will at some point in their life live in a home that receives food stamps or SNAP benefits. Now those are truths of our situation. And if you want more, let me share with you the truth about the cards that we've been dealt right now today. Like that 1 billion people in the world do not have access to any health care. Or that the U.S. has the highest teen pregnancy rate in the industrialized world. Suicide, the 3rd leading cause of death for 10 to 24-year-olds. Smoking-related diseases cause 440,000 deaths each year in the U.S. Every 2 minutes, someone in the United States is sexually assaulted. 77% of students are physically or verbally abused. 120 million children work full-time to support their families around the world. 1 in 10 elderly senior citizens experience abuse from a caregiver. Over half of teens have been bullied online. 2 out of 3 teens are verbally or physically harassed every year. The deck goes on, and if you want more uncomfortable truths of our situation, there's thousands more just a Google away. These are the truths of our situation, and we ought to be uncomfortable with the truth. Sometimes the truth is the scariest thing in the world. Sometimes it is the thing that makes us the most uncomfortable, and something that I just read or spoke to you ought to make you uncomfortable. Something that you just heard ought to make you squirm in your seat just a little bit. And if nothing did, go find something that does. Because what I want to share with you tonight is that being uncomfortable is a good thing. It's something that we must be. We must get uncomfortable with the status quo, with things as they are, as they exist right now today. We must be uncomfortable with something. And here's why. Because discomfort motivates us to action, to make a change, to make a difference, to make things better, to change the status quo. We must be uncomfortable with it first. Now, I was motivated to action when I became aware of the truth of my situation in this cave. And to take you back to the story, here I am in the cave, back against the wall, rocking a hard place, light goes out. I do what anybody in their right mind would do in that situation. I am motivated to act by how uncomfortable I am. I scream like a 12-year-old girl. Ah! Just like that. Only louder and more tears involved. And so Stephen's around the corner, and Stephen comes back. He's a good old boy like me, and he comes back around the corner just trying to help out a friend. He's like, "Hey, Jackson, what you doing, man? Something wrong?" And I'm like, "Hey, this is rocking a hard place, Empress New Groove, and I'm about to die." And he did that. Joker started laughing at me. And so I kind of control myself, get myself pulled together, and I'm like, "Stephen, seriously, why are you laughing? You're about to watch me perish." And he goes, "Did your headlight go out?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, Jackson, why don't you just use the extra one that's hanging around your neck right now?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah." And he was right. I had one hanging around my neck, right here. There I was screaming like a 12-year-old girl, and I had what I needed all along. They had given us an extra light when we started the journey, and I'm here tonight to tell you all that you may be in the exact same position. I had totally forgot that I had what I needed to make a difference, to get out of that situation, to change the truth, the darkness around me. I had what I needed all along, but I had forgotten because I was overwhelmed with the darkness around me. I was paralyzed with fear. That discomfort scared me to death. I wanted it to not be so. I wanted just lights to come on without me doing anything about it, but I couldn't. I had to use what I had with me. And it took somebody else, a friend of mine, coming back around the corner after me and shining his light on me to let me know that I had what I needed all along. Now tonight, each and every one of you in this room, in fact, everybody on this earth, has what it takes to make a difference. We each have been given a light at the beginning of our journey, which will allow us to shine a light into the darkness that makes us most uncomfortable. Whatever it is for you, whether it's that more and more people are entering this earth and need to be fed in the next 50 years, or whether it's that more and more ag teachers are retiring and fewer going in the classroom, or maybe it's that more slaves exist in the world right now today than have ever existed in the history of this planet. Whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable, you were given a light to shine in that direction. Now, at some point in our life, somebody might have told us, "Put that light away. It's too bright." Or somebody else is shining the light, you don't need to. Or your light's too dull. Or your light's a different color. Or you don't need to worry about that. Or that's too far away. Or the darkness is too dark to make a difference. Forget that. Not just because I want to make you feel better about what you can give to the world, but because the world needs each and every one of us. It is so dark. There are so many problems. These cards that we've been dealt are so overwhelming that each and every one of us has got to turn our light on in the direction that makes us most uncomfortable. We've got to start moving the needle in the areas that make us most uncomfortable. And not just that, we've got to shine our light on the people around us to let them know that they too have a light to shine in that direction. Now you may say, "Well, I don't have what it takes. Light, that's fine. But I don't know if I have everything." Well, and some people, those people on Facebook that are always on there like, "Well, I do my math homework, but I just don't have enough time tonight. If there were only 25, 26, 27 hours in the day, I might have enough time." Well, let me ask you this. Think of the most instrumental, most effective people that have ever walked the earth that changed the status quo into something better. Whoever you think that is for you, whether it be Mother Teresa, Martin Luther King, Norman Borlaug, Jesus of Nazareth, the Prophet Muhammad, whoever it is for you, the most impressive, most effective person that's ever walked the earth, ask yourself right now, when they woke up in the morning, how many hours in the day did they have to make a difference, to shine a light in the areas that made them most uncomfortable? And the answer, of course, is 24. Now, the next time that you think that, "Oh, I can't make a difference, I don't have enough time, or I'm too engaged in these other things, or I've already invested all this time here and there and everywhere," remind yourself that when we wake up in the morning, how many hours in the day do we get? And I will assure you, the answer is still 24. You may say, "Well, I need money or I need ideas." Well, you don't need money. Because Mother Teresa, Mahatma Gandhi, they lived in poverty and they changed the world. And you've got ideas. Whether you share them or not, whether somebody once told you to put your hand down in class and you just kept your ideas to yourself from then on. Maybe you keep a list of ideas under your bed or on your phone in a secret note. Maybe you keep those ideas to yourself and you don't want to share them because they might sound stupid. Those are your light and we must share them. We must share them. We have a light for a reason. We get uncomfortable for a reason. Put those together and we've got to start making a change. Find something in your life that makes you uncomfortable. And if nothing in your life makes you uncomfortable, look around, because there are a lot of people in this world who suffer each and every day, and they need your light to make a difference. They need our lights, every one of ours, to start to make a difference. Find something that makes you uncomfortable. If you don't get up in the morning with something that ties a knot in your stomach, makes you want to make a difference in the world, makes you uncomfortable, then you might as well stay in bed. Something has to drive us to create a better good, to create that impact in our home and communities, which will stand solid for our part in that inspiring task. Kentucky FFA, get uncomfortable. Let that motivate you to action. Get uncomfortable, Kentucky FFA, and let's change the world. Thank y'all so much. I'll see y'all around.